Imagine someone just hands you, like, a literal vault.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like it's heavy, it's bound in black metal and golden rivets, and it's covered in these really intense, almost intimidating images.
Like what kind of images?
Spartan helmets and AI-generated art of lion-headed trees.
That is quite the visual.
Right. So you open it, and you're expecting maybe a fantasy novel or, I don't know, a prop from a movie. But inside is this manual telling you that your heartbeat is being tracked by billionaires.
Oh, okay. That took a turn.
It really does. It tells you your drinking water requires metaphysical reprogramming,
Yeah.
and that your romantic relationships operate exactly like a piece of high-end radio technology.
Fascinating.
So today, for our deep dive, we are opening that exact vault. We're looking at a book called Be a Hero, Decode Your Greatness by Alessio Favaretto.
And this is definitely not your standard reading material.
No, definitely not. So for you listening, if you want to bypass the usual, pastel-colored, softly lit self-help platitudes, you are absolutely in the right place.
Yeah.
Because this is just a completely genre-bending manifesto.
It really is. I mean, just starting with that aesthetic you mentioned, it's profoundly striking, and it sets a very specific, almost uncompromising tone right from the jump.
Yeah, it's not messing around.
Exactly. This material, it's not designed to be a casual weekend read where you highlight a few inspiring quotes and then just move on with your life.
Right.
The author clearly intends for this to be treated as a sacred oath, or what he actually terms a sacramentum.
Sacramentum.
Yeah, it demands this active, almost grueling participation from the reader before it even begins to explain its broader worldview.
And that demand for participation starts immediately, right? With what he calls a Socratic blueprint.
Yes, exactly.
Because before we get into any of the global conspiracies or the DNA hacking stuff, the book literally tries to train your mind using rote memorization.
Which is pretty unusual for this space. Super unusual. It presents this thing called the BEA HERO code. And it's this really rigid list of 67 specific questions and answers that you are instructed to memorize.
Not just read, but actually memorize.
Right. Burn into your brain. I actually pulled a few standout examples for us.
Oh, let's hear them.
So the book asks, what is L-U-C-K? Spelled out. L-U-C-K. And the answer you have to memorize is labor under constructive knowledge.
Huh. Which, if you think about it, completely reframes the concept of luck.
How so?
Well, it takes it from being this random cosmic lottery into an output of deliberate, structured effort.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I found that one really empowering. But then they get a bit more abstract.
Like what?
It asks, where is your treasure hidden? And the answer is, in the cave I fear to enter.
Oh, very Jungian.
Right. Or what is FEAR? And the answer is false evidence of actual reality.
Classic.
Yeah. And then there's this one. What is age? And the programmed response you have to recite is a measurement of illusion measured by the moments that take our breath away.
I know, it's very poetic. But I have to push back on this method a little bit.
Go for it.
Why force anyone to memorize such a rigid, almost military-style code? If the philosophy is good, why not just lay out the argument and let the reader digest it organically at their own pace?
Well, I think it speaks to the psychological utility of that sacramentum concept we talked about. The author is playing on a very specific behavioral mechanic here.
Okay, unpack that for me.
So when life's chaos hits you, your higher level executive functioning basically shuts down.
Right, fight or flight.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
lose access to all that nuanced philosophy you read in a cozy chair. But by internalizing these 67 specific answers, you are building what the book describes as a mental fortress.
A mental fortress.
Yeah, a structure that is, quote, as strong as my weakest door.
Oh, I see.
So when you force rote memorization, you pre-program a reflex.
Yeah.
When sudden fear hits, you don't have to scramble to construct a rational argument against it in your head.
Your brain just automatically fires back with false evidence of actual reality. It's like a concert pianist.
Yes.
They don't think about where their fingers are going during a complex concerto because they've run those scales 10,000 times.
Right. The muscle memory just takes over when the pressure is highest.
Okay, that makes sense.
You are armoring the mind first. You're creating an automatic override system for your own panic. And according to the author, you are going to need every ounce of that armor for the reality of the world we inhabit.
Which brings us to the actual war we are supposedly training to fight. Because if we are building this mental muscle memory, what exactly are we preparing to face?
That is where things take a turn.
A huge turn. The book has this stark, incredibly intense introduction. The author builds a highly aggressive worldview here. And for you listening, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, his premise is that global systems are deliberate cages.
Yes, he identifies the word corruption,
In all caps.
in all caps, right, as the ultimate human disease. And the scope of this critique is massive.
It really is.
The text details a world that's heavily influenced by a small fraction of elites, or these billionaire gods.
Right.
And they're pushing agendas like transhumanism, total AI integration, cashless societies, biometric tracking.
It's a lot.
It is. And the author asserts that policies like, say, carbon taxes or centralized digital currencies, they aren't tools for environmental or economic stability.
What are they then?
He argues they are mechanisms designed specifically to restrict human freedom, to dictate consumption, travel, and just basic liberty.
And he brings in some heavy historical math to ground this argument, too.
Yes, the war costs.
Right. The text points out that World War I cost roughly $208 billion, and World War II cost $4 trillion.
Trillion, with a T.
Unfathomable amounts of money. And the author argues that if those resources had been invested into empowering humanity instead of destroying it, our current reality would be unrecognizable.
Absolutely.
There's even this quote he features from the assassinated Italian judge Giovanni Falcone. He says, "Follow the money and you'll find the mafia."
And that quote really serves as the central heuristic for the book's entire anti-corruption stance.
Like a guiding principle.
Exactly. The instruction is to look past the stated philanthropic intentions of massive global policies and look strictly at the flow of capital and control.
So asking, who is profiting?
Right. Who is gaining data? Who is gaining leverage?
But let's look at the mechanics of this advice for a second, because it feels like realizing you're a single cog in a massive corrupt watch, and you've just been handed the schematics of the entire clockwork.
That's a great way to put it.
You know, the author's showing you all the gears, the billionaires, the AI, the global tracking. But then his solution is personal development.
It seems like a disconnect.
Right. How does memorizing quotes or becoming a better version of yourself actually stop the gears of a global machine?
Well, that is the pivotal bridge of the entire book. The author argues that you cannot dismantle a corrupt machine if you rely on it to survive.
So-
Yeah. The ultimate act of rebellion against a digitized, corrupt world isn't necessarily holding a picket sign or lobbying. It is becoming what he calls untouchable.
Untouchable. I like that word.
And you achieve untouchability by creating immense, undeniable personal value and claiming absolute personal sovereignty.
So if you generate your own power, you don't need the grid.
Precisely. The book calls for men to awaken an inbuilt courage to protect and defend, much like a lion. And it calls for women to lead as goddesses, asserting that their nourishing foundational spirit is absolutely essential for societal survival.
So it's about becoming irreplaceable.
Exactly. The economic and philosophical thesis here is that a deeply fulfilled, highly skilled human being who knows their intrinsic value, they cannot be coerced by fear tactics.
Or automated into obsolescence by an algorithm.
Right. Your self-improvement is the rebellion.
Okay, but if the ultimate rebellion against this corrupt system is becoming entirely self-sufficient, this sovereign powerhouse, that creates a massive problem for our personal lives, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, you can't just be an isolated, impenetrable fortress if you want to have, like, a healthy marriage or a functional family.
True.
How does the author expect you to be this independent lion or goddess while still functioning as a vulnerable, loving partner?
So the author solves this by introducing a highly structured technological framework for relationships.
The radio metaphor.
Yes. The self-lover's radio. It breaks human connection down into 7 distinct, manageable components.
And I really love this analogy because if you're anything like me, you know that you don't just buy a radio, put it on a shelf, and expect perfect audio forever.
Definitely not.
If you want a clear signal, it requires active, continuous tuning to eliminate the static.
Right. So the book lays out these 7 components very clearly.
Let's go through them.
First is the antenna. That's the rule that both lovers must be fundamentally free.
Okay.
Second is the tuner. The principle here is don't fall for ownership.
Don't fall for ownership. Got it.
Third is the amplifier, which involves actively honoring romantic needs. Fourth is the decoder, being true and trustworthy. Fifth is the dial, setting the relationship hierarchy and establishing what actually matters.
So those are the core principles.
Yes, and then it moves into the operational tools. The 6th component is the speakers, which focuses on mastering communication and apologies using what the author calls the FBI method.
The FBI method.
And finally, the seventh component, the batteries, which is about maintaining energy through intimacy, thrill, and sensuality.
Okay, I want to zero in on that sixth component for a second. The speakers. Because this FBI method is fascinating.
It is very practical.
So it stands for feelings, behavior, and impact.
Right.
The book focuses heavily on keeping out of non-factual disputes. So if there's static on the radio, you don't attack the other person's character.
You don't call them names.
Exactly. You state your feeling, the specific behavior that caused it, and the impact it had on you. It completely strips the moral judgment out of the argument.
It de-escalates the situation.
It does. But I hear this theory, and I mean, let's be real.
Uh-oh.
If I'm in the middle of a heated, passionate argument, and I look at my partner and say, hey, I don't own you, we are just operating our tuner to broadcast on the same frequency.
Oh, you're sleeping on the couch.
I am 100% sleeping on the couch. Like, doesn't this mechanical language strip the raw emotion and the romance out of love?
It sounds clinical on the surface, I grant you that. But the framework actually creates the boundaries necessary for raw emotion to thrive safely.
Okay, convince me.
Let's look at that tuner component again, the concept of ownership. By treating love as a system you must actively maintain rather than a possession you have acquired, you demand ultimate respect for the other person's autonomy.
Right, they aren't an object.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you view your partner as someone you own, you stop tuning the radio. You just assume the signal will always be there regardless of your effort.
Oh, wow. And that's when the static builds up.
Yes. What the author calls the ripple effects of dissatisfaction.
Ripple effects of dissatisfaction. That is a great phrase.
Right. When you ignore the amplifier, like failing to honor those romantic needs, the signal degrades. This mechanical framework prevents you from taking love for granted.
Because it forces you to actively work the dials.
Exactly. It ensures that both partners remain sovereign individuals who are actively choosing every single day to broadcast on the same frequency. So the structure doesn't kill the romance. The structure protects the romance from neglect.
You know, that makes a surprising amount of sense. It's about maintenance versus entitlement.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've tuned the radio of our relationships. We've built our mental fortress with the Socratic code. We are generating our own value to resist the global machine.
We're doing it all.
We are. But this is the point in the vault where we leave the tangible world completely behind.
Yes, buckle up.
Because we've mastered our daily habits, and now the author wants us to master our cellular biology.
It is a massive metaphysical leap. We transition into the concept of the biological internet.
Leap is an understatement. I mean, we go from very grounded, tactical frameworks like the important decision RAID system.
Right, where you methodically recognize, analyze, implement, and decide on your daily choices.
Yeah, super practical.
Yeah.
But then suddenly we're talking about DNA biological language.
Yeah.
And quantum healing.
It gets deep.
The sources dive into water reprogramming. We get into supernatural meditation using something called the Silva method. It introduces the eternal hum of zero-point energy.
It really broadens the scope from the psychological and systemic to the purely vibrational.
And it doesn't even stop there.
Yeah.
The book brings in the Russell periodic chart.
Yes.
And it frames it not as standard chemistry, but as the geometry of vibration. It integrates numerology, astrology, feng shui, blocked chakras.
It's comprehensive.
I have to be honest, though, my skeptical alarms are absolutely deafening here.
I can imagine.
Like, how does the author ground this? How do we go from using an FBI negotiation tactic with our spouse to reprogramming our drinking water and analyzing our astrological birth chart?
Well, to understand this shift, you have to look at the internal logic of the universe the author has constructed.
Okay.
The book presents a unified theory where a human being isn't just a mind and a physical body. A human being is a fully integrated, multidimensional circuit.
An integrated circuit.
Yes. And the author argues that you cannot achieve your ultimate purpose, what he calls your specific outcome, if your foundational energy centers are blocked.
So what is the mechanism behind something like water reprogramming? Because he isn't just telling us to hydrate, is he?
No, definitely not. He is referencing the concept that water molecules can hold vibrational memory or energetic signatures.
Okay.
Because the human body is primarily water, the theory suggests that by intentionally altering the frequency of the water you consume.
Like through focused intent or words?
Exactly. Words or environmental frequencies. By doing that, you are literally reprogramming your cellular makeup.
And the Russell periodic chart fits into this.
How? So the traditional periodic table categorizes elements by atomic number and electron configuration, right? Well, The work of Walter Russell, which the author draws upon, visualizes the elements as octaves of light and geometric waves of motion.
Octaves of light.
Yeah. It suggests that matter is simply a tone or a frequency. So if you combine that with the Silva method,
Which is the meditation one.
right, which involves altering your brain waves into alpha and theta states to access deeper intuition, if you combine all that, the overarching thesis becomes very clear.
It's the ultimate operating system upgrade.
Exactly. The author is suggesting that the elites and those corrupt systems of control we discussed earlier, they are operating with a deep, hidden understanding of these universal forces.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They are using biometric tracking and AI to map human biology because they understand its power.
They know how the circuit works.
Right. Therefore, for you to become truly untouchable, it is not enough to just be economically independent. You must master your own biological and metaphysical frequencies.
You have to fight fire with fire.
Yes, you have to connect your literal DNA network to the universe's living frequency field.
It really is leaving no stone unturned. If the system is trying to hack your biology, you have to hack it first.
Precisely.
So, bringing this immense journey all together for you listening, what is the ultimate takeaway from this heavy black metal vault?
It's a lot to process.
It is. We've gone from memorizing the sacramentum code to override our panic reflex to recognizing the cogs of global corruption.
We've learned to tune the self-lover's radio without falling into the trap of ownership.
And finally, we've explored the wild frontier of hacking our own biological internet.
But, the through line of Be a Hero really is the definition of true value.
How so?
The text explicitly states that success is not about accumulation. We do not make a life by what we manage to hoard or take from the system.
Right.
We make a life by what we give. Creating value first, from a place of holistic vibrational mastery, is what actually makes you sovereign.
Which brings us back to the power of our own output.
Yeah.
Because the very first thing we discussed was that Socratic code, and there's a question in there we didn't cover.
Oh, which one?
The code asks, what power do your words hold? And the answer you must memorize is, the primal manifestation of my world.
Oh, that's beautiful because, as the text notes, our physical bodies will eventually die. But words, much like the soul, live on and ripple through the field.
And that leaves us with a fascinating, entirely new perspective to consider. Because the book warns so heavily about our biology being tracked and manipulated here on Earth, right?
Tied to this specific living frequency field.
Exactly, tied to the Schumann resonances of our planet. But what happens to our biological internet if humanity eventually leaves?
Oh, that is a profound question.
Right, like if our ultimate sovereign power is tied to the unique vibrational geometry of Earth, our water, our specific DNA resonance, what happens when we colonize Mars or venture into deep space?
That's fascinating. Isolated from the Earth's natural frequency, do we just lose our biological internet entirely?
And become entirely dependent on the mechanical, AI-driven systems the author warns us about.
Or do we adapt? Do we end up tuning our internal radios to a completely new cosmic frequency?
It makes you wonder if our metaphysical evolution is bound to this planet, or if the vault we open today holds the blueprint for wherever we go next.
It certainly gives you a lot to mull over.
It really does. Something to think about as you navigate the frequencies of your own week.